T and Frank here are going to share our final session with hopefully we'll have less issue in getting that set up. And the session is going to be on why sustainability, AI, and Web3 are the key tech sectors for the next 10 years, which will be a conversation between Frank from BraveNewEarth and T. Ganbold from OpenESG. And please give a warm round of applause to both of them.
Great, thank you very much, guys, and thanks for staying for the last session. So we are going to talk about. I am at BraveNewEarth. I was previously at Spotify, Siri, and a whole bunch of things. In fact, I was an early investor in Siri and was on the board of Siri before we sold it to Apple, and then also got involved in DeepMind. So I have been watching the AI transition for quite some time. It's been a super interesting one. And of course, now we're in the world of LLMs, and sustainability is something that I've been involved in for a long time. I have a fund in sustainability and climate, also invest in it and build companies in it, one of which I sold recently. But far more exciting today is T. Ganbold, who is the co-founder and CEO of OpenESG. And we are going to have a conversation about sustainability. We're going to have a conversation about AI and Web3, which I think we both agree are pretty much the key areas and technologies for the future. So, without further ado, we're going to kick off, and we're going to also do a live demo of our product launch. I'm also working in OpenESG on a product side and an investor. But firstly, over to you, T. Tell us about OpenESG, what we're all about. What is the mission?
So firstly, I want you guys to get involved here. We're all part of this journey. So tell me, are you interested in protecting and making sure that we don't damage our planet? If so, raise your right hand.
There you go. Wow. Okay. Everyone's
pretty much everyone in the room. There are some people who are, on their phones, and the ones and those who do not care, please raise your left hand. Okay. No one raising their hands. Interesting. Well, that's exactly what we've gathered. Our generation, we're all pretty much the same age here, and the generations below, we've realized that this has got to stop. We have got an opportunity to say, look, we need to find a more productive solution to our, I would say, our global climate crisis. And so we created a company called OpenESG.com. OpenESG aims to create the sustainability infrastructure for all of us. And what that means is that we're collecting every bit of sustainability data for businesses to help improve what they're doing. So if you're let's say a manufacturing company creating consumer goods, at the moment we have a plastic water bottle coming from the oil industry, petrochemical industry. This company could improve and become better. The way to do that is using information to improve. So that's what we're doing. We're helping companies improve from here to here. So no finger pointing in their private tools can show we help them algorithmically get from here to here. So how do you do that? You collect all the world's sustainability data so that companies can benchmark themselves along, well, in their category. This is consumer goods, let's say the food and beverages industry. You can benchmark and see how you can improve. So that's what we're doing at OpenESG. A lot of people have been calling us the Nielsen of sustainability.
And so we're basically, and we're going to talk through that, we're taking all the data and bringing that up into an infrastructure across private, public, and partnership data. And to do anything about sustainability requires data. To do anything about anything requires data. But how did you get here? What's your journey to get here to this point today?
So I'm just going to show you a quick video. I was born in a country called Mongolia, and it's sandwiched between Russia and China. We're totally independent. Ulaanbaatar, our capital city, was the most polluted city when I was growing up. Imagine that, the most polluted city. I grew up in a country where pollution is normal. And I started to think, why is this happening? Where is this coming from? So I started to understand where energy comes from, where effectively, why is this happening? So we can just pause there. My research really started in energy. I was looking at alternative energies for my dissertation as an undergraduate. And my passion was to understand the world of commodities, to understand the infrastructure that creates our global economy. So from there, I got into my first investment banking job, trying to persuade investors to invest in alternative energy because I'd written about it almost 10 years ago when the sector was not very, fashionable. And I learned that, it was just the beginning. We weren't there yet. And then I got into a few tech companies. Some of you might know Cambridge Analytica, and also worked with a co-founder of Ethereum at Consensus. So my very formative years got the basis of what our internet looks like and where it's going. Then at 26, I started a supply chain AI company. And really our goal was to really map out global supply chains to eradicate waste in our supply chain. This is an incredibly enormous task, and we had some of the best minds on this task. And COVID hit, we paused, and I went back to the drawing board, and you're hit by a global pandemic, and also your company stopping. So I went and lived almost off a farm, and a vegetable box once a week, and just ran every day, thought by the sea. And I learned that actually, upon reflection and more research, because I was not going to give up. This is such an enormous challenge that this is not something to just go, okay, I'm going to go on to my next thing. I went back to the drawing board, and I realized there's this category of firstly, you have sustainability, and then you have every bit of data underlying that, which is now categorized under ESG, environmental, social governance. So why E? So if a company is polluting the environment, it goes into the E. If a company is damaging its people, using child labor, using slave labor, it goes into the S. And the G is the company, does it even have a board? The governance of a company is so important. We've seen a few crises recently on the governance side. So sustainability is such a large category, and there's so much information out there. I have WhatsApp groups. I'm in so many WhatsApp groups, I'm sure you all are. And I see, where do I find alternative plastic? Where do I source this? And I remember when I read about LinkedIn, the early days, Reid Hoffman said, you know what, all I wanted to solve for was the fragmentation of information, because our CVs were flying all over the place before that. So really, OpenESG, we realized that all we need to do is bring it all together, because there's just so much fragmentation. So we're pulling together all the world's sustainability information so that we can all build on top of it, learn from it, improve our supply chains, and make sure we're buying from companies that share our values.
Absolutely. And, I started as an investor and then came in very passionate with a background of sustainability and AI and also Web3. You were at Consensus. You obviously, back in the early days, and then started an AI company which was about, optimizing supply chains, but you always need the data. And so why do you think in 1 minute, do you think that the future, you've said this before, I've heard you tell a whole bunch, kid you not, you told a whole bunch of Imperial College students the other day that if they weren't in sustainability and AI, they didn't have a future. So, which they definitely believed, and some of them just recently joined. So why do you think that's it? Why do you think that, sustainability, AI, Web3 are really the key things to be involved in the next 10 years?
Look, I'm a capitalist, I'm a libertarian, I believe in creating jobs. So I want to set that foundation. And for me, it is, once upon a time it was investment banking, and then it was computer science. But we have so much innovation in these categories. The last bit of innovation we really have is the climate and making sure our economy, our global economy, operates in a much more sustainable way, and we regenerate our communities, our homes, and our areas. So when we drove around Romania, around Cluj, we were hearing these stories of how people are polluting the rivers and that they have no real incentive. The thing is, it's not just the individual, it's the companies we can help persuade to change their behavior. If it was easy for us to buy a recycled plastic bottle, we would do that. But we need to change their behavior on a supply chain level. So the opportunity really for everyone here, and I've been lucky to spend a lot of time with different investors, different types of business people or leaders in industry, and they've said, look, so if you're not in sustainability right now, then really this is the growth area. 20% of you get 20% higher income by being in sustainability. So this is the time right now to be in the category.
And combining it obviously with data and bringing it, we're about to show you a demo. We're about to launch here, like the next, the product, which is Chat ESG, and obviously just coming off the back of chat and discussions from Victoria, we're going to show you an actual example of owning a particular sector. But we've got up here, well, down on the screen, we've got up here like we've had a great bunch of interns that have come in, and not only that, graduates, Gen Zs, etc. Why now? Why? I mean, the great thing about it is we didn't have to explain to them. Like slightly older generations, we had to explain to, but to like any of the Gen Zs coming in, the grads, etc. We're like, okay, sustainability, AI. That's what we're working on, and this is how we're grabbing data and everything, and they just got it straight away. Like, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's time now, and it's like that generation's getting it straight away?
So from a timing perspective, firstly, the data we can capture it much easier and with a much easier interface. Hence, with generative AI, we can query information in a much easier way. So timing from that perspective is there. Another piece of timing, really, Ulaanbaatar was the most polluted city once upon a time, but now there are so many that literally the competition to be the most polluted is absolutely awful. So that demand and the will and the understanding from governments, large corporates, all of us realizing that it's starting to damage us. And then finally, Gen Z, they've been on this path of, gosh, we're inheriting all this mess. And they are getting so excited to be part of the solution. We're not in the business of finger pointing and, because that actually leads to worse behavior. Imagine someone keeps telling you're doing something wrong. That's just not productive.
So let's go to the demo, 100%. And I have to say as well, as an investor, I have a number of funds, and right now, like I would say that obviously AI, everyone's jumping in, but sustainability and climate is definitely the second thing. Web3 is obviously a little bit tailing off at the moment, but there are so many aspects of Web3 and blockchain that are coming into products. So it's not a be-all and end-all. Things are like starting to integrate. So like what we're doing here at OpenESG as well is that things are integrating. You're using blockchain from like obviously vector graph databases and open principles there, and then we're also looking at, and then obviously basically all the data is immutable. You're looking at data, how you're gathering it, how you're bringing it on. And then how you're interfacing with that data comes from an AI. So you're looking at all those aspects, and I have to say that it's not be-all and end-all these days. So one of the things that we're going to do is let's have a look, and we're just going to quickly show you the product. So let's have a look at kind of like what this means and how this is looking. So essentially, what we're doing at OpenESG is we're grabbing data. It's one of the issues, as T said, is that it's very difficult when you're looking at a product and trying to think about how to use a product, and I've done a lot of companies over the years, is that it's about like, if you look at the top layer and try to solve, like as you did, optimization of AI, of supply chains, it's the underlying data is an issue. So once you realize that and you're looking about how do you capture that data and bring it all together. So across here is what we're doing. We're looking at bringing in proprietary data. We're going to show you how that works and helping companies showcase how good their products are, how sustainable their products are, how sustainable they are as a company. And then looking at public data as well, bringing in whole reams of public data. If I want to try and find out something about carbon emissions or water or biodiversity in a big company right now, and I'm sitting in capital markets next to my Bloomberg terminal, I've got an ESG portfolio, it's super difficult. I have to trawl all the way through documentation to get it. And I think one speaker said earlier on today, just like part of the thing about like chat is to you remove all this documentation and start to drill into the data and interface into the data. So as we build up that and across partnerships, we're looking at then bringing up a sustainability improvement engine that then helps companies improve themselves using that data. And then we're going to show how we interface into that data. So without further ado,
and
let's have a look at that.
While Frank gets that out, we did not have that data. It was not easy to get access to so much information before until generative AI. That is why it is really time. We can actually do real stuff. We can actually improve now.
So let's ask a question. So just to give you an idea of like how complex this data is, let's just take a look at what different types of sustainability reports are. Sustainability reports are like super complex. Like you can't really see that on the screen there, but that is 88 pages long of just data after data after data. Right? This is all locked up in PDFs and everything, but every big company has this. I go to something like the Citigroup, or the Google group or anything like Google's sustainability report. And again, right, this is 108 pages here from Citigroup. To try and get hold of that data and understand that data is super complex. So let me just go to ChatGPT and show what I mean. So let's ask, what are Coca-Cola's emissions for 2022? Okay. So one of the issues is that obviously just remember that an LLM is an LLM. It's not looking at data as per se. It's specializing in data. What a lot of companies are doing is looking at verticals around data. So it can't pick up that. If I go across to, let's say I go across to us, and I'm going to go across to what we're launching today, which is Chat ESG. Chat ESG is giving an interface into to this data. So if I ask what are Coca-Cola's emissions in 2022, but it's going to pick it up and give you the emissions to like, and says, okay, what are 2020, oh, let's say, sorry, 2021. That's because emissions in 2021. If it can pick that up. And it's going to go into and look at the data and figure out, okay, what's the data that's involved in, there we go. So it's picking it up directly and telling us, okay, what's the direct emissions for emissions on that, and what's indirect emissions. Like ChatGPT isn't going to be able to pick that up and say what it is, but what we can do here, and you just, to be able to go through and find all that data is super, super complex. So if I ask, say, here's another good question. So not just emissions, but what are
And from a user's perspective, imagine you're at Coca-Cola, you're on the executive team, you're in the company, you're trying to say, how do I find this out quickly? At the moment, it is so challenging to go through hundreds of pages of reports. So this is what it solves for. It helps companies go deep into the information they already have.
So if I'm looking for what Coca-Cola's water goals are, here you go. Goal 1, it says achieve 100% regeneration across 175 facilities, improve the health of 60 watersheds, return 2 trillion litres of water. If I'm in the capital market space or if I'm in a consultancy or anything to do with sustainability, it's super, super difficult to find that data. While with Chat ESG, I go straight to it. I've got exactly those things that it's popped up. It said the watersheds, it said the facilities, and it said the supply chain. If I go to Chat GPT, it's just going to give me generic data. So I'm just going to show that for a second. So what are Coca-Cola's water goals? And it's just giving me generic data. So it didn't give me those specific things that it's trying to think. So that's a perfect example of a great example of how to make things work. What we're using with Chat ESG is that you've got ESG data is unbelievably complex. I can ask it sustainability goals, I can ask it emissions, I can ask specific scope emissions, I can ask, okay, break me down, like what's the different emissions that are here, what's the different carbon, and like water, biodiversity, social, governance, like going way beyond things. Like there was one that launched the other day which was just specifically on carbon, got a lot of interest, but we've taken not just carbon, but then added absolutely everything else, like biodiversity. And this is a great example of how you look at data and suddenly interface to it. No longer do I have to go through trawling through sustainability reports. I can feed it huge amounts of data. I can feed it all of the carbon footprint data that I need to as a company, feed that in there. I can go down supply chains. I can ask 8,000 suppliers to enter their data through our other interface that we have, which shows how you enter in the data, and you can go in and look at how you're going to do a score on, yep.
This experience, so a large company, we're working with global companies who want to understand their entire supply chains, all the companies that are supplying to them on a company level and on a product level. So if you get a score, for example, this shows all the areas you're doing amazingly, and it looks a little bit, like a LinkedIn page, and this is the area where you could improve. And if you sign up for Pro, then you can sign up for algorithmically to see where you are in your category, how you improve. And if you want to verify your information, again, to make sure your information is correct, and so that your buyer says, okay, I trust you. So we are making sure that this is what every company on this planet should have.
So when you enter the data, and we either scrape the data or we show how and again say how sustainable it is, where is it coming from, where is it sourced from, where is it organic, etc. But then that data is also pushed into Chat ESG, which means anyone can then ask, okay, what is, say, the most sustainable company in Romania? And if that data is sitting in the OpenESG system, Chat ESG is going to pick that up and surface that to anyone in the world, which means that you can then go, hey, what are the most top sustainable companies that are in fashion or something, and pick up that data and show that. We're just going to wrap up now, and we're going to wrap up with one last question, which is, so just coming back to this, as we said beforehand, I was at, we heard from Lars earlier today, Lars Rasmussen, like who we know, and Lars was talking to you, I don't know if how many heard about the Canva story here today with Lars, yeah? So the great thing about Lars, with what he told you about Canva, is he went in there and Bill Tai, he found Canva, and then Bill Tai said, look, I'm going to invest if you go and find the right people. And I met T and invested. I thought this was a great vision of what she's doing. And then I got involved in the product exactly like Lars did. And now I'm right in the middle of it. So just to finalize the last bit here is, how are you going to scale OpenESG?
So OpenESG, our really, the way we're scaling is working with some of the largest companies. At the moment, they get charged so much to know this information. So if you're a large company and you're trying to gather this information in the first place, and then to see who are your top performers, then please reach out. My co-founder, David Aikman, who was running partnerships at the World Economic Forum for 17 years, is an ecosystem man. He knows how to bring ecosystems together. So the second point is we are bringing the sustainability ecosystem together.
Because I was just going to say as well, it just reminded me of how Mel built Canva, and it reminds me very much of you and how you're looking to build. I mean, she built it to a $40 billion company, and she had Bill backing her, and I believe Bill backed your last company as well. And I think that mission that Mel had to build to a $40 billion company, the reason I'm in this is because I feel that. I feel that passion, and the goal of this, which is to literally fix how people become more sustainable, how products become more sustainable, is there. So I think that's how it's going to go. And I think you can do that.
We encourage everyone to get involved. We are very much operating on, when you have too much capital as a startup, actually you don't think about what to focus on. So we're focused on our customers. We're focused heavily on them. So when so the manufacturer in Mongolia, in Romania, can actually use our product and say, wow, I know how to become better. That's when we know and that's how we're planning to scale. We're planning to scale, making sure our product is useful for a manufacturer in any country on this planet. So thank you
That's it.
all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for staying for the rest of the day. And thank you very much to Vlad and everyone at the team. So appreciate it. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, T. Thank you, Frank.